Scotti Williams. I work at PeakActivity. I am the head of talent and recruitment in the company. I have a partner that I work with, but I oversee all of our external needs with our clients and oversee a little bit of the internal recruitment as well.
Awesome. Scotty, thanks so much for making time to join us on the Abby podcast today. Before we get into all of the great things we want to discuss in today's episode, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your backgrounds, maybe high level career timeline, so to say?
For sure. So, interesting background. I went to the University of North Florida. I was a swimmer, Division One, swam all 4 years, and I went to school to be a first grade teacher, actually, and then I taught for 1 year. And politics got to me. It really wasn't for me. I love children. I love doing it for the children, but it was the bulletin boards and the standards. It was just too much for me. And with my swimming background, I actually started teaching swim lessons. And through teaching swim lessons, I learned that I'm actually really good at sales. And I was a very good salesperson. I had a pitch. People would work with me. I had over 30 clients over a couple of summers. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to move to New York City and I'm going to pursue sales because that's normal, right? Just what everybody does. And so when I went there, I actually started working for a gym doing gym sales. And that was, interesting and fun, but I knew that wasn't my career in life. And I had started looking on Craigslist for job searches, and I actually came across a job posting for Creative Circle. And in that, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And Creative Circle is a creative talent agency. And I ended up getting the job, and I told them, I was like, I don't know anything about recruiting. I don't know anything about recruitment. I don't know anything about marketing or anything about creative anything. And I was like, so I'm a blank slate. And so I started working there. I worked there for 3 years on the sales side. So I was doing, cold calling clients, but I really learned the full scale of recruitment, getting in jobs and recruiting and what that meant and filling jobs. It was a really awesome time of my life. And that was where I started my career. And from there, I ended up moving to Philly. And when I moved to Philly, I decided not to move to Creative Circle. Through that, I learned that, people were working with me because it's me and not because I was with an agency and I knew how much money I was bringing in for the company. So I decided to go out on my own. And Creative Circle, they do a lot of the contract to perm. And I really enjoyed the permanent placements. And so I opened my own company. I found a partner to work with, and he was working on getting sales in and bringing in jobs to me, and then I would bill them. And I worked with him for 2 years. And then after that, I completely went out on my own, and I was a one-person shop. I got jobs in myself, and I billed them myself all through using just LinkedIn. And kind of built my business from there. I did that for about another 5 years after that. And then I moved to Boston. I got to work out of Boston. I got to work out of Philadelphia. I moved to Atlantic City for a little bit. So I really got to move around and work in different markets, learn about different places. And then finally I moved back to Florida in West Palm Beach. And I'm actually somewhat related to our CEO. My brother-in-law is his brother, and we've known each other for over 30 years. So me and Manish actually connected, and I was actually working with Scott Townsend. He helps me get into PeakActivity, and then through PeakActivity, what's great about working there is that your job always is evolving to what you want it to be. So I've really got a chance to be able to build throughout the company, and I've been with the company now for almost 2 years. And I do their recruitment. So I know it was kind of long, but that's my whole background. And that's how I ended up at PeakActivity.
That's super cool. Wow, what a diverse background.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure a lot of kind of the things that you've learned along the way, they're complementary in the sense, whether that's teaching, that's coaching, the sales aspect, recruiting and staffing, because at the end of the day, it's, I'm sure in your current role and for Manish, when we also hosted on the podcast, surrounding yourself with A players, with the best people is always, the top priority, whether you're actively recruiting or not. So I'm pretty sure kind of the role that you play and the part of the organization is invaluable from that perspective.
Yeah.
And as far as the current role within Peak Activity, can you tell us a little bit more about that? What falls under your purview, your responsibilities?
Yeah. So peak activity in general, we're technology services. So we can do anything from social media, social commerce, marketing, analytics, A and B testing, custom level software development. And then we also have our own e-commerce platform that we've built ourselves, which is Rev Commerce. We're in a very exciting place, but what I do is actually completely different. So I run the talent division. And so when any of our clients come to us and say they might not have a project-based need, or they might not need a custom level, software or something, but they just need a person, or they need a team, and they don't have time to outsource for that. That's where I come in. I talk to the client, I find out what they need, and then I work with my team to fill the needs. I actually still do the recruiting myself, and then I have a recruitment coordinator that helps me, fill in jobs as is too. So I'm still doing the same thing I used to do, but it's just on a much higher level. Building a team is something that's so exciting and so fun for me, because you actually, you're building an actual team that works together, and then that team is going out and working as a peak activity team on site. So that is where I come in handy. And then also I work with our internal team on the HR side. And if I have talked to a candidate that's really good, then, and I don't have anything for that candidate, we get to use them internally. So we really work together on internal and what we call internal and external recruitment.
Uh-huh. Well, that's pretty interesting setup in the sense that you do almost, I don't want to say non-traditional type of staffing, but it's also for, I guess, for the different segment of the customers that you guys serve as an organization. So that's a unique setup. So you've been in staffing industry talent acquisition for quite some time now. You had your own business, and now you're part of this larger organization. Um, Share with us what insights, ideas, and trends that really excite you these days from your industry perspective. What are you researching? What are you very excited about? What do you think is the next big thing?
So I have been staffing for 12 years, and everything has changed so much. And I think my favorite thing about staffing is that, we can wake up one morning and our world can be turned upside down completely. And we all learned this last year with COVID. We were last year before COVID, it was very much a candidate driven market. No one was really looking, it was, I mean, a job market, like there was lots of jobs open. Candidates weren't really moving very much. I would say that there wasn't very much movement, and I was really having to headhunt to fill jobs. And then, we were all turned upside down when COVID happened. People got laid off. We had so many good candidates come out of that, which it was unfortunate for them that they got laid off, but it was fortunate in a talent and a staffing world, because we got to talk to so many good candidates. And at the same time, it's like they were flexible on price. I mean, prices came down a little bit when it came to talking to candidates, because they were more flexible because they needed work. And I think that is my favorite thing. It's just never knowing what I'm coming into, having to evolve, having to decide what route are we going to do. I mean, we went from having to headhunt almost every job to being able to post a job and get millions of applicants, and having to manage that and talk to all of those people. So using those tools, finding tools to work in this ever changing market is I think just being able to wake up and be like, okay, I have to go with the flow today, because who knows what's going to happen. The stock market could crash and people could lose jobs, or next thing we know, no one's interested in leaving a job, because people right now are happy in their jobs. So it's just always changing.
Oh, right, right. No, that's very interesting, and I'm pretty sure it's very relatable at many levels, in terms of especially the last couple of years, how the industry, how everything had shifted to a totally different dynamic. Which brings me to the other question I wanted to ask you. What is your view into kind of that future of work? I'm pretty, a lot of organizations are dealing with that differently. There's different setups. There's different structures that companies taking place in terms of whether that hybrid model will continue with the fully remote. What's your vision into that? What do you predict, or at least what do you hope that would look like?
I hope that it opens our job market almost completely. I mean, just to speak activity, our job market, and I mean, our candidate market has opened extremely. It's so big now because we can hire someone in California as long as they're willing to work on our time zone and during our time, but we also have clients in California. So, it's really opened the market, and I hope that the new normal allows people to still work remotely. I know that people are going back, but it gave the people that are in some little town in Michigan and able to work for a company in New York City, which was never going to happen. And for us to get candidates in New York City that were never going to move to Florida, although they all are moving to Florida now. So um, but I think our new normal is we have no idea what that's going to be. And I talk about this with candidates all the time. A candidate that I find for a job for my client, Bethesda, Maryland. I can't guarantee that if they live in California that they're going to be guaranteed a job when they go back into the office, and that's scary for them. But also at the same time, I hope that the candidate can go in there and that they can do a great job and they can show that they can work remotely and they can make it work. So I hope our new normal stays the way that this is, because I think it's allowed us as humans to show that we can do this on our own. We can do this at home. It makes us a little bit more flexible. It makes it, I think, a happier workplace for everybody if you get the option to decide.
Right, right. No, that's very interesting. And you've mentioned something as an opportunity for companies to get access to a much greater pool of candidates. But on the other spectrum, that also increases the competition
It
of,
does.
other organizations with, a lot more flexible terms, or a lot bigger benefit packages, or a greater brand as an organization. How do you think that will play out in terms of smaller organizations competing for that same type of talent, but with companies that have a lot more to offer? What's your take on that?
So, in these times, I think the only thing that can make candidates come to a company is culture, work environment, and compensation. Now, being in a company that is smaller, compensation is always, I can't compete with the Googles, I can't compete with the Facebooks. But what I can compete with is I don't put people through 7 interviews, I put them through 1 to 2, and I make a decision and we make an offer very quickly. So, it's we know what we want. We know how to identify talent. We will move quickly for the right person. And that's how we can stay competitive. But the thing that my challenge is that even though we give a candidate an offer, it's one of those things that might happen where they, have to continue interviewing somewhere else, and then they come back. And it just happened to me the other day. I had a candidate that was supposed to start, and the day before he started he got an offer that was more money, sign-on bonus. And it's just, that's the hardest part. It's definitely the number one challenge, is staying competitive in the marketplace and learning how to stay competitive in the marketplace. And for us, we are 100%, we are okay with people working remotely.
Mhm.
And then a big thing that we do too is that we actually hire internationally as well. Since we're remote, we can actually work with people in Argentina and in India and Colombia. We use outside resources because they want to work for companies like ours too, and we want to give them that opportunity. So it's another way that we can stay competitive and get talent that others aren't getting.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Coming up with very creative ways to do that. I think that's key to stay ahead. You stay, very competitive. And that sounds like you guys are doing a lot of that. That's great. When it comes to current state of talent market, whether that's in South Florida for us, or just, in general, in overall, um, what's your perspective on that? What does the current market look like? What are some of the challenges that you've seen, along with what you already spoken about in terms of that particular competition?
Yeah, in South Florida, our market, it's changed in the past year. I mean, we've gone through COVID. It's been about a year now. At this time last year, I was talking to at least probably 10 candidates a day. And we are not getting those candidates anymore. Those candidates have now found a position. They're happy. And the biggest thing with those candidates is that they're not looking to move right now because they've either just took jobs, or, a lot of people took time off work, in which I completely understand, but now they're also the people that are also looking to get back into the job field now. They have taken that year and kind of reevaluate what they want to do, and now they are coming back. So it's like we're almost seeing a second wave of people that are coming back into the marketplace. But our market in South Florida is 100% changing. We are not finding as good of qualified candidates as we were seeing a year ago. We're actually going back to more of that candidate driven market where they are making the decisions, they are driving it, and the jobs are just overflowing right now.
Right, right. No, absolutely. Couldn't agree more with you. And with a lot of things that we have going on in South Florida, kind of a lot of the initiatives in terms of building that as, the innovation hub, the tech hub is at least on the East Coast. You would hope that that would drive a lot more greater, talent out here. But again, it's such a great competition out there as well. That war for talent definitely is true. So when you talk to your candidates, when you interview them, or you're pre-screening or just networking in general, share with us any of the questions that really help you assess that particular candidate, from that short conversation. And what do you look for in some of the responses when you talk to them?
So it's very interesting. So since I've been doing this for so long, and saying I feel like I'm a robot on the phone. I say the same thing every single time I get on the phone with the candidate. And my poor boyfriend that I live with I just say the same exact thing every single time. And
You record it and just play it.
yeah, pretty much. I can just play it. I get on the phone, I say the same thing. It's that salesperson in me. But since I have been doing this for so long, I can almost get a sense of who that person is. And I know this sounds crazy. I can get a sense of who a person is in the first 5 to 10 minutes that they are talking about, how they talk about themselves, how they talk about their job, how they even talk about themselves, what their attitude is like. And call me old school, but I still use the phone. I don't I don't even do video calls to begin with. I feel like it's a bit intrusive to ask for a video call the second that you're getting the first intro with the company, with the person, and I don't want them to be nervous. Like I just want to be, even though I am asking them about their skills, and I say this to everybody, I am not an expert. I'm not a subject matter expert. I can intake any information that they give to me. Obviously, I've learned a lot through my career and I'm still learning every single day, but I do not know how to be a developer. I don't know how to be a designer, but I know the skills that I look for. And so in talking to them and their skills, I learn a lot, but I learn a lot about the way that they talk about themselves. And I know this also, I don't love it when candidates, when I say take a second to talk about yourself, take 5 minutes, and then they talk about themselves for 30. That's a big red flag for me because everybody has an elevator speech, and especially if you've been interviewing before. Now, if it becomes conversational and I'm really into it and I'm asking them questions, that's different. But when someone just doesn't catch my attention, that's to me, that's one of the biggest things. So, in giving advice, I would say everybody needs to have their background in 10 minutes or less, or you will lose the recruiter's attention because we have a million things going on. We're there to get the information in so that we can get it to the right person. We're not there to evaluate skills. We're there to talk about skills and learn about the person. And so we can talk about the culture.
Got it. Great recommendations. And last but not least, Scotty, share with us your content diet. What do you consume on a daily basis? What are your sources for learning? Share with us any valuable links or resources, or even the Twitter accounts that you follow.
So I will say that in my later years in life, I have got away from reading books, and I wish I would love to get back into, but that's just me being honest. But that being said, I use pretty much all of the social media avenues that I can to get any kind of information, and sometimes that shields me from things, and sometimes it opens my eyes to things that I've never known before. I think one of the biggest things, especially when it comes to business, is going on LinkedIn and looking at all of the articles that people are posting about their businesses and the projects that they're working on. And that's a big one, especially when it comes to business. And then, even finding things that like you've never even learned, like the crypto market is crazy and it's really fun to learn about it. And they're bringing a tech hub to South Florida too, and that's very exciting for companies and development and everything. So there's a lot of things that can be found on the social media boards that aren't Instagram and aren't Facebook. Those aren't where I'm going. It's where I'm going to get like my pop culture, but not my business culture by any means. So that's a big one for me. And just following, Google News is a big one. New York Times is 100% something I pay for, and I love it. And something it's like the first thing I check every day.
No, that's
Besides
awesome.
weather.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I can relate because you can be very selective with that information overload. And social media really does allow you that platform to be able to be very surgical in terms of what do you follow, what types of topics that you read about. So that's very exciting.
I do have a book that I also am very passionate about that is also relevant to what I do, what everybody does. And
Uh-huh.
most people have read it, but some haven't, especially maybe even the younger people listening on this, is just the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. It's one of my favorites. And for someone who was a Division I athlete and someone who, really stuck it out all 4 years, and doing it since I was 6 years old, the 10,000 hour rule is just something that I live by in my entire life. And I think it relates to recruiting because I talk to these candidates and they come in and they've been at their job for 2 years, and then they want to switch from being a developer to being a product owner, but they haven't mastered their craft and they're not putting in the time and they're just giving up. And my biggest thing is I don't want people to give up on what they do. I've wanted to give up on recruiting so many times, but I've really stuck it out. And I'm now going into my 13th or 14th year of recruiting, which is crazy. And, I feel like I can do it in my sleep, but at the same time, I learn something new every day. So that's my
Yeah,
book
that's a
recommendation.
great recommendation. Couldn't agree more with you. One of my favorites as well. And, Scott, I definitely appreciate your time today. Very powerful conversation, short, but very insightful. My 7-year-old is taking some swimming lessons, so I'm gonna take you up on your experience and maybe share some videos with you and see what recommendations you have
I have a
for
great
him.
one. I have my sister actually still does some lessons. So if you need one, let me know.
Awesome. Definitely looking forward to that. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so nice talking to you.